Hello. So this obviously isn't like a video about one of the Marvel movies, but it will definitely have some elements of superheroes because they play a big role in my life. And superheroes. Um, my entire life has revolved around superheroes ever since for like the last 8 years at least. And every decision I've ever made, and every belief I've ever thought of, and just basically everything in my life revolves around superheroes. And with everything going on right now, um, I don't really know how to feel about it. Not like in the sense where like I'm neutral, but it's just all of these mixed feelings, you know. And I just want to start off by saying I'm not super informed on the subject at hand. I did just like I looked up because there's so much going on, and it's not just one thing. It's so many layers and so many things leading up to it, and it's been going on for years. And all of this is going on with like a bunch of with a pandemic, and there's so much information going on right now. It's overwhelming, and like I can only learn so much in such a short amount of time to kind of make this video. And obviously this video isn't going to like stop racism or stop the riots or fix the police system. But going on to what I was saying earlier, I kind of have mixed feelings, sort of. Now I'm not neutral, because superheroes, obviously, I may repeat myself a lot. Superheroes have been a big part of my life, and they have taught me personally that violence is not like should never be your default method to solve a problem. You should always try to solve a problem peacefully, and I've lived by that. And seeing all of this go on, seeing people die is upsetting on so many levels. And not that I'm saying that these people don't have a right to protest. They have every right to be mad. And just, and with all the violence going on, I have some mixed feelings on the violence. Because one, I'm against it. But two, you can only be peaceful for so long until you like really need to push back, And I feel like in times like I feel like in times like this, it's hard to tell. Like the limits are very like the line is very thin and very small, and you can't see it that well. And this is all about like this isn't. I was about to say this started with George Floyd. Like so many things. This didn't just start with George Floyd. George Floyd was a domino, it was in a line of so many other dominoes. Uh, One of my three favorite superheroes is Spider-Man, and one of the quotes that's like connected, that's tied with Spider-Man is, "With great power, there must also come great responsibility." And I've always felt, I think about that quote a lot, because if you have the power to help someone, it should be your responsibility to do so, no matter the costs. You have the power, you should be responsible with said power. But it seems like lately people in power haven't been responsible with their power, and that's not good. Something needs to be done. I made some flashcards. Once again, this isn't really. I don't know what the point of this video is. I just really want to get my 2 cents out there. Nobody should really take my video to heart. I'm not that well informed. There's so much I don't know, and there's so little that I just learned right now. And the world is just so messed up. You know, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming with the amount of information that's going on right now. You know, like it's truly upsetting because I love people. You know, like I believe people should be protected. You know, like no matter who they are. You know, uh, I have there's this person that's in my life who I hate, and um, let's just call it a bully. There's a bully in my life who every once in a while will kind of like try to bully me, and you know, there's only like I said, you can only be peaceful for so long until you get provoked, you know, and some things that don't make sense are like people can be so stupid. People can be so stupid because a few months ago, people were protesting about the stay-at-home order. You know, like I don't want to stay home. These masks suck. It's boring. You know, like I want to go to the beach and like touch people. You know, well, that last part kind of came out wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say. And they were just kind of like all over the place, and they were crazy, and like they had guns and everything, and like it was insane. And I was like, and I just, no one did anything, and like the reason why they were protesting was so stupid. It didn't make sense. And then like, now people are protesting because they want justice for everyone who has been wronged, and they're protesting for their lives and the lives of their loved ones, and they're being attacked and they're being run over and they're being like maced, and there's tear gas and everything. And some officials, it's a very fine line. Some officials are provoking it, and then they're provoking some protesters are provoking it, and there's looting and there's riots and like there's buildings burning down. And I am not staying on top of this. Hold on. Yeah, so there's all of this is going on, and it's just kind of like, where the hell were these cops when all of these people were protesting about not wanting to stay inside for the safety of everyone? It's a pandemic. It's not something that's insignificant why you should stay home, while these people want to go out and fight for their future, for their lives. And that's okay. I just hope, I know it's hard. If anyone watching this video is going to go protest, I encourage it. Fight for what you believe in. I feel like everyone should do that. And if you believe in, obviously, what's going on right now, that's great. That's awesome. Do it. But be careful. Be very, very, very careful. Because it's rough out there. It is crazy. It is hell. Okay? But, oh yeah, be careful in the sense where like, try not to get maced, and just, COVID-19 is still a thing, so just also be aware of that. Just because COVID-19 isn't talked about that much anymore right now doesn't mean it's not still relevant. But all right, okay. I'm gonna try to stick to my flashcards because I'm so overwhelmed by all the information that I'm trying to process right now, and it's just going like. And this is kind of supposed to be a serious video, so I know I'm typically not a serious person, but I think about a lot of serious matters, like a lot, like morals and right from wrong and illegal and legal, and are not illegal isn't always the same thing as wrong, and the same thing goes for legal. What's legal isn't always right, you know. And I always think about people, especially when I'm like alone during quarantine. I think about people a lot and how I feel about them and how they all are like as a planet, and how sometimes people can disappoint you so much and you could lose all hope. And there's a spider on my desk. Hold on, I'm gonna just kill. Actually, it can stay. Right. So how on some days people can be just so disappointing, and you could just it's all hope, and people can be like, you know what, maybe Ultron was right, and everyone should just be wiped out. And then some days when it's like matters like this, where everyone comes together, and they're all fighting for the right thing, and they're all like, yeah, you know, like, sorry, it's just annoying me. Ew. I'm sorry. How people right now are all coming together, and they're like, yeah, like, we've had enough. And I really hope everyone has had enough, because there's one thing that I'm tired about is when someone gets killed, it's talked about for like a few days, and it's never brought up again. And then a few months pass, and then someone else gets killed. It's talked about for a few days, and then never talked about again. And then a few months pass by, someone gets killed again, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm tired of that. I want to see change, and right now, like, I feel like I hope change is going to be done right now, because this isn't something that can just be easily ignored. All of the U.S. is protesting. London is protesting. I don't know where else people are protesting, but everyone is coming together, and this is great. This is amazing. This makes me feel good about people. This makes me be like, yeah, this is exactly why I love people and why I'm willing to defend them. And right now I can't really do much because I don't know, I'm just not that capable at the moment. And right now, my parents need me, and I'm helping them out as much as I can. And I have to prioritize. Do I want to help the people, or do I want to help my parents? If I help the people, like, I could be in danger because, macing and, killed or whatever. And then who's going to help all my parents? And my other brothers are just kind of like, they're a different story. So right now, my priority is with my parents, and I want to be here for them. And I'm not that I'm saying that those people out there don't care about their parents or whatever. They just I actually don't know what I'm trying to say right now, but I really hope people weigh out and see their priorities, and I hope that people going out there are like thinking like, oh yeah, like this is, like I have all of my grounds covered. I can do this. But I'm going to try to stick to my flashcards now, and hopefully I can get my 2 cents in and kind of get people informed. I've watched a lot of like Last Week Tonight, and his videos are really informative, and they're usually pretty funny too. And he did one 3 years ago, I think September of 2016. It was about police accountability, and once again, someone was killed by a police officer, and it was talked about for a few days, and nothing happened. And his most recent video was not related to George Floyd. It was about, what was it about? Voting by mail. But he did say he was going to upload a new video on Sunday, because it's on Sunday nights, probably talking about everything because it's really hard to ignore. And John Oliver has like a lot of good points. And once again, he's also really informative, and I really like watching his videos, and they're really funny. And I feel like at a moment like this, people need to laugh. People need to be learn that it's okay to like not laugh at the situation, but just, watch a comedy special, watch a movie, like get your mind off of some things every once in a while. Like it's okay to just kind of like look away from everything and just take some time for yourself, escape the world for a little bit, and then you can go back and be like, okay, this is the real world. What can I do? Take some time for yourself. I feel like that's what people really need, because this is everything is all so overwhelming, and it's too much. It's too much. But moving too much. Looting in stores is a problem. I know I've seen a lot of people say this, or like oh, people care about buildings more than they care about people's lives. Well, maybe some people do, but there are stores, like each building. I lost my train of thought, but each building has like a purpose, right? So let's say, I know people were really like defensive, or not defensive, or against Target. People were really looting Target and like, oh, I can't believe you're defending Target. Well, try to look at it like this. Target is a store. In order for that store to be fully functional, it's people need to work in a Target. Okay, so people need to work in a Target. People need to go. They work there. They get paid. Another thing. Well, it's basically just two things. Some people get their groceries from there. Some people get some materials from there. I think they sell food. I never get food from Target. They get food. I think they sell also hand sanitizers, batteries for whatever reason. Those two main things are crucial. And if that Target gets looted, those people are out of a job. Those other people that go in there to buy materials, it's gone. Okay, and in times like this, like people need jobs. So many people are losing jobs because of COVID-19, and they have nowhere to go, and they're relying on so little money that they have, and a lot of family members, there's only one member that's making money, and everyone else has to rely on that one person, and that person's maybe working at a minimum wage place, and it's like a lot of stress. And just if their workplace gets looted, they're out of a job as well, and everyone else is screwed. And that's not good. Obviously, I know. I also wrote that down here. Let me try to stick to it. I know some looters and rioters aren't the same protesters, and it sucks how some people are using the protests for their own benefit, and they're stealing, like, sorry, like, I know this is going to sound kind of selfish, but there are two comic book stores, one in Santa Monica and the other one in Beverly Hills, and they got looted. And I was thinking, what the hell do these comic book stores have to do with George Floyd? Because I get totally destroying the police department. That makes sense. But totally destroying and looting a comic book store, why? What purpose does it have? And I know that sounds selfish to me because I'm a big comic book fan, but I'm sure those comic book stores weren't the only like small businesses that got looted as well in the name of like George Floyd. Like, it's just. But okay, let me just Right. So as I said, I kind of did some information. I looked up some information on like the current events right now. Uh, there is so much. There is just so much, and I know I'm probably going to keep repeating that a lot, but it's true. There's so much, and I don't know what to read, and it's overwhelming, and it's just what the. I can't curse in my room, but it's like what the hell, you know? So I looked up. One of the articles that I found was what happened to George Floyd. Not what happened to him. We know what happened to him, but like everything that happened within that moment, you know? So evidently, a store owner called the police because George Floyd had counterfeit bills and he wanted to buy cigarettes with said counterfeit bills, and he had lost his job because of COVID-19. And the store owner said he was calling the cops because it was procedure and he followed it. And counterfeit bills, like, they're not great, but like to call the cops on them, and he said it was procedure, so like it's kind of hard to excuse people. Like it's not. I want to say it's not his fault, you know? But some people could argue that it was his fault. But he didn't know. Sorry. But I'm going to put my watch on mute, actually. Because I can do that. Sorry. Should have done this earlier. He didn't know what police were being sent. Okay? I'm sure. Like he said afterwards, like in the article that I read, that if a matter doesn't require the police, he's not going to call them unless he needs to and he regrets calling them. And I'm just kind of curious, like, does he feel guilty? I don't think it's his fault. I think it's definitely the police officer's fault and, like, the other three that were there. It's definitely their faults. Their faults? They're definitely at blame here. The store owner, he was following procedure. And I know, you know, sometimes people say, like, oh, that's exactly what the Nazis said. Yeah, but he's obviously not, you know, like, getting direct orders from Hitler, okay? Like, I know, I've heard that argument, and I don't really think it can fully apply here. But, that's the bills for preacher. Police, oh, yeah. So I was talking to some of my friends the other day, and this was like a few days ago, and I like talking to different people about touchy subjects because sometimes they have the same, like they're on the same side but a different argument, or they're on like the different, like on the other side with a very good argument, you know, like. Just because someone's on the opposing side of you doesn't mean you can't be like, hey, that's a really good point, you know? Sorry. I always say, you have to give credit where credit is due. If you're arguing with someone, and if they have a really good point, and if you know they have a really good point, you have to be like, that's a good point, and I will consider that. So that's why I like talking to different people about different things. And one of my friends said that, like, on one hand, you know, like, the police never know. Like, the police have a dangerous job, you know, and like they never know who it is they're going to come across. And I've seen like a ton of different videos kind of like touching on that. And when the police were called, they were told that they were expecting someone out of control and drunk. I'm gonna post like everything on the links, or I don't know. I'm gonna post everything there. So the police were expecting someone out of control. So you have to take that into consideration, okay? Like, just bear with me here, okay? Because I know this is where I know when this comes up, people get angry, but please bear with me here. So the police were expecting someone out of control. So they were probably like, you know, what's it called? They were like they were probably like on the fence. You know, they're like, all right, like let's be ready to attack if we need to. That should be the mentality that they should have had. Let's be ready to attack if we need to. Oh yeah, in the videos of that I saw in the article, because it was like a 9-minute video. One of the police officers had his hand on the gun. There was in some videos there weren't audio. So one of the police officers had his hand on the gun holster, then he put the holster, like the little clip, back on, and you don't know why he had his hand on, like ready to go, but like he was ready to go. It was like, you know, he saw him and like they dragged him out of his car, they handcuffed him, and you know, like they're moving him around. And in the videos, George Floyd was not being violent. Okay. And I know police officers were told to expect someone out of control, but, you know, if they're being called and they're expecting someone out of control and they're saying like, oh, hey, this person isn't out of control, maybe I should, you know, lower my guard a little bit, you know, like detain him, sure, maybe. And after I detain him, lower my guard a little bit and see what kind of, like, see how he's acting, you know? And apparently the officer who killed him was Derek Chauvin, who has already had 17 complaints up to that point, and he was in 3 shootings. One of them was fatal. Oh, I'm running out of points. And he had his knee on him for about 8 minutes, and people were recording him, and they were confronting him, and they got close, and he like aggressively pulled out his mace, and he was ready to, like, he shook it, I think, I don't remember, and he was ready to mace those bystanders who were like, hey, like, he can't breathe, you know? And he was so defensive, and he was so angry. He looked so angry, and I'm like watching this video, and all I could think about was George Floyd being on the ground and saying he can't breathe. And I'm like, dude, like, I couldn't comprehend what I was watching. And it was sad, okay? Because I'm at loss for words when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I don't even know what to say right now, and the whole point of this video was so I can get my 2 cents out, but I don't even know what to say in terms of his death. And this was, I guess, a straw that broke the camel's back. And it's sometimes I think about stuff, I think about history, and it sucks how sometimes in order for change to happen, in order for something good to come out of, like, so many things have to go terribly wrong. So many people have to die before people can get, like, a better life. Like, slaves, okay? Gay people, you know, they were all, like, before, years ago. Well, I mean, I need to word this better. Black people obviously weren't looked at as people, and that was a huge problem. And so many, like, black people were slaves, obviously, and so many of them died, and they died for so many years, and their history is so messed up. And I've seen a lot of, like, Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah's good. I've seen a lot of Trevor Noah videos, and a lot of other black people talking about, like, to white people, and they're like, I don't know my family tree. Like, I can't, like, you know, like, oh, it's so cute that you can see where you come from. I don't know where I'm from. And it's sad to kind of see how many bad things have to go, how many bad things have to happen before change can be done. And it sucks that, you know, George Floyd had to die, and it sucks that everyone else had to die. And I really hope, out of out of this, really hope change starts to happen. It won't happen overnight. Change. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it burned in one. Um, the change isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take years, and I really hope change does happen, because if not, all of these people that have died for nothing. And if change does happen, then even though it sucks that they died, then their death would kind of have a purpose, a meaning. Hopefully like a kind of like I don't know what the phrase is, but at least they didn't die in vain. So hopefully that happens in terms of change. Not, I don't want them to die in vain, but like I hope change does happen. And as I watched one of Trevor Noah's videos, and he went on to say like peaceful protests, right? How Martin Luther King tried peaceful protesting. Like, that's not the right way to protest. And the footballer's name, I don't know what his name is. It's sports. Like that's not the right way to protest. And he was going on to saying there is no right way to protest because they're trying to fix something that's broken, and that's not right. I feel like that sentence doesn't make any sense. But the point he tried to get across was that there is no right way to protest. And that's kind of when I wrote here, sometimes peaceful protests aren't enough. Like, kind of like what I said. Looking back at history, I think I said this earlier. Looking back at history, slaves were freed because they fought, and the gay people got rights. Well, LGBT people got rights because of Stonewall, which when I said I'm not that informed, I'm not really sure what happened in Stonewall. I just know it was like protest and maybe some people died, and because of that they started getting rights. Okay. Once again, I'm not that informed. I do plan on learning a lot of other stuff as well too, so I can have a better conversations with people, and so I can understand a lot of things. Where was I? Oh yeah. So the slaves and the LGBT people, I'm sure maybe not the slaves, but I'm sure maybe they attempted peaceful protesting and it didn't work. And they obviously, in order to get rights, they had to, fight. And I hate violence. I hate it so much. I'm not a big fan of it. I try to actively avoid violence with my bully, but sometimes maybe you need it. Okay, like, I hate saying that because I don't like the idea of people being hurt, because like I mentioned earlier, I love people, and I don't know, the thought of other people getting hurt makes me sad. Like watching all these protests, it makes me sad just how easy it is for someone to hurt another human being, and I could never do that, ever. I remember being in class one time and we were learning about the Vietnam War and like how easy it would be for them to kill someone. Like, and the teacher's like, "Oh, do you think you could possibly kill someone and like be able to sleep at night?" And I remember thinking to myself, if someone opens the door for me and if I don't say thank you, I can't sleep at night. So hell no. So just like, I don't know, it's just stuff like that. Or I'm really against violence by all means, but sometimes it's really necessary. But the thing is, like with Spider-Man, like violence means power. And if you're going to have power, you have to at least be responsible with it. Okay, so if you're going to be violent, which I urge everyone not to, but it's, one or the other. And sometimes you can't be fully peaceful. But if you are going to be violent, I encourage you to be responsible, which kind of contradicts the whole point of violence, which is being irresponsible. But if you're going to get in a fight with someone, no, no. So whenever I get into fights with my bully, I always lose because I always pull back, which is something I've recently learned is not good because I always get hurt a lot. But if you're going to get in a fight with someone, know how hard to hit them, know where to hit them, and most importantly, know when to stop. Like, you should know when to stop. Don't bludgeon them. And I know there's a lot of people are saying that they shouldn't trust the police, and like if they see a police, they're going to start shooting. And I think to myself, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea. That is, I get where they're coming from, but that's a bad idea. And once again, bear with me. I know this phrase has like bothered a lot of people, but not all police are bad. In the sense where like, obviously not all black people are bad. There are some bad black people, but there's a lot of bad people of like everything. Okay, so it's like being bad isn't exclusively to black people. Being bad is everywhere. Where was I going with this? My air freshener threw me off. Shoots. Oh yeah. So I know there are people saying like if I see a police officer I'm gonna start shooting, like on Instagram and whatever. I think that's a bad idea because I feel like that makes us just as bad as the racist police officers who kind of shoot on sight. Okay, like they're racially profiling, and you know, if they see like a black person, they're like, oh, I'm going to start shooting off like automatically. And if these protesters were like, oh, I see a police officer, I'm going to start like, you know, attacking them. That's just as bad as what the racist police officers are doing. And in the John Oliver video, my throat is getting really dry. In the John Oliver video that I'm going to put in the little thingy, he talks about bad apples. And the problem is like there are some bad apples. Like within a barrel of apples, there are more good apples than there are bad apples. But the problem isn't that there are bad apples. The problem is we don't know how many bad apples there are. And also, it takes just a few bad apples to spoil the whole barrel. And John Oliver goes into like more detail into that analogy. And hold on. And like the main problem, there's so many main problems actually, but one of the problems isn't just, you know, racist police officers. It's racist people. There are still a buttload of racist people where like, let's say, right, where there's a racist police officer who doesn't kill a black innocent guy and he gets to trial. And if he can manage to get to trial, right? And if he gets to trial, he still has to go, like, I don't know much about courts. I know that you have to get like 12 random people and they kind of all have to decide whether or not he's innocent. Those people are probably really super racist and they're like, oh yeah, he's totally guilty because he's black. Send him to jail. So the problem isn't just racist police officers. It's racist people everywhere. And this isn't a problem that can be solved overnight. And I keep repeating myself, and I'm really sorry. I know that I'm dragging this video on way too long. Probably, I'm not sure if it's longer than it should be or not long enough, because I know there's a lot to discuss about this topic, but I don't know that much about this topic. I'm still learning a lot about a lot of things. I try to research, right, obviously about this, so I can make this video. But shoot, I keep losing my train of thoughts. Yeah, so these riots and these protests aren't going to solve this problem overnight, and hopefully it's the first step of actual change. And even then, the main problem isn't just the police officers. It's racist people everywhere. And how do you stop racism on a global scale? I've always thought you can't really do that. You can't, like, there's no way to stop people from being racist just like that. Well, maybe if you had like infinity stones, but that's a different deal and that's not real. But you can't just stop racism with a snap of your fingers and, oh hey, like, there you go, everyone be happy now. You know, I've always thought, maybe schools can do a better job of teaching racism. So be like, hey, this is racism and this is bad and this is why you shouldn't do it. So I feel like schools need to teach that more often, because I have a 5-year-old niece and she's mixed with Mexican and Salvadorian blood, and she's brown, like really brown in comparison to me. I'm like light skinned, but not like white. And she's a girl. And already off the bat, she's going to struggle a lot, because women struggle already enough as it is, and colored people struggle enough as it is already, and she's both, and she's going to have such a hard life, and I'm scared. It's scary. And I'm thinking hopefully by the time she's older, things will get better, and she doesn't have to constantly look over her shoulder because of like a threat that she has to learn to live with. And it's just all so terrible. And I know during a time like this, I think a lot about superheroes, and this is a really serious discussion right now, or topic, but and this is going to sound really dumb, but sometimes I like to think about what superheroes would think of, like what Captain America is one of my favorites, what Captain America would think about during a situation like this, and what would Captain America do? Okay, he would be on the side of the protesters, like without a doubt. He would be on the side of protesters without a doubt, and he would feel so much disappointment in the police. And like, the police are supposed to protect and serve, not strike fear in the people of anyone. Okay, and I know it's kind of dumb to think about superheroes in a time like this, but it's just kind of how I deal with things and how I process everything in my life right now. And I'm gonna finish the video off because it's going way too long, and there's only so much some people can do to help. I can't go out and protests. Some people can't go out and protests. Some people don't have money. I'm going to try to link websites to articles. Definitely the John Oliver video. I'm going to link a few other websites. I think there's like one article with like 40 pages you can donate to. So I'm going to link that too. But also, I guess to finish this off, Spider-Man's one of my favorite characters. Another version of Spider-Man is Spider-Man Noir. And one of the interesting things about him isn't that he's like black and white and he's like from the Great Depression, but he didn't grow up with the phrase, with great power there must also come great responsibility. He grew up with the phrase, if there is too much power, then it is the responsibility of the people to take it away. And I feel like now, more than ever, that could not be more true. And I guess I don't know, I guess I have faith in the people right now in hopes that everything will be okay. It will take forever, but I really hope things get better slowly, nonetheless. Hopefully, I could wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, everything is perfect. But that's never the case. And I don't know. I really hope if anyone watches this video, I hope they kind of think a bit more. I don't know how helpful this video was. I hope they think a bit more. I hope they check out the links that I added. I've never done this before. I really wanted to just get my 2 cents out there, and I really hope if people do go out protesting, which I highly encourage it, I really hope everyone stays safe and make sure to tell people where you're going, how long you should be gone. Don't forget, COVID-19 is still an issue. Just please be safe. And be responsible with the power you're given. First and foremost. Yeah.